as usual, not prepared, not preparing in a way that I'm objectifying some ideas, but I do always have something that's active. Interesting thing happened. I mean, not a big thing, but this morning I had recorded a movie from 1919 called something Youth. And it's a silent movie that started off with the quotes. I'd like to read it, but I'm not going to be able to, so I'll just paraphrase. The movie is starting with a quote, a line of quotes about the men, this wise men who are from the East and coming with wisdom, and they are 3 of them in the Himalayan mountains, and they are pictured together, and these 3 wise men are the ones who are recognizing the real universes, let's say. No, it wasn't said like that, but that they were stationed in a place of this high landscape for their purposes of bringing the wisdom and pointing out the conditions that are objectively ruling mankind. And they pointed at the greed as an essential that was keeping the men from being aware. And these 3 beings were also, there was an individual there named whatever his name, don't remember, Carino or something like that, and or Serenu, and he is something like an apostle who is now going to be sent out into the world, or he's going to take the journey into the human world, where he's being told that the people will not be very agreeable, and the situations, etc. And of course, it was written much nicer than I'm able to do it. And I was, of course, recognizing that Fobi and Yabo Sakabi and Rebbe Zartars, most likely the associated new guide individuals. So the story also said that the children in the world were in causative situations where they are not, where they are something like innocent, and they will, for whatever causes, not, they will be eventually indoctrinated or made associated with this cruelty or the lack of willing good nature, that is. And so it will, of course, because of that lack of good nature, be an opportunity that will make them turn towards various forms of cruelty. a very interesting metaphoric for the day, which is Christmas Eve here in the Western world, and these wise men of the East, so to speak, and the birth of Christ story that has all of that associations with the children and the individual being sent out from the mountain viewpoint, and whatever his experiences will be is a repeat of the situation that has occurred in numerous generations of mankind, and etc. So I have been writing about this kind of thing recently, and I also have one of the universal, well, the relation I have is in my own self is I've created a program that can predict a lottery, which is now the prize is almost $1 billion. It's an insane amount of money to have for one person as a winner. But the real winner, of course, I've acknowledged, is the government that's so-called providing this opportunity, which means that there's only real one winner, and that's, related Callum gods, and all of the prognosticators, or the, the right word is those promoters and Dark Lord associates and et ceteras that are about this kind of a vehicle that is being used to just create money out of air for their continuous control. So I have a program, let's say, that could break this, but not break it, but actually it might even contribute to it. So it's a mixed metaphor and a miscegenation, I guess, as a term about this condition that we have, where we're also presenting the great opportunity to become aware and to observe and reveal, let's say, in this entirety in a way that will make sense and be used. And so I'm thinking my relation is that today is the day of the year. Every year I have this where the sun lines up with my own, what I call the Chiron, which is the chiist or Christus, crystallization of that idea within myself. And it's just humorously, let's say, lined up in timing wise to this particular New Year's, Christmas Eve, and so forth. So this year I've noticed that there's a much more marketed, less Christmas spirit in the air. And I see it all around. I see many people. There's no graciousness or sharing of this beauty idea of it to the most part. And the humorous thing related is that there's a movie out with The Rock called The Red One. And what it's about is that Santa Claus is abducted from the North Pole before Christmas by a witch who is going to make all of the people who are on the naughty list, of which her brother or rather the brother of Santa Claus, rather, had compiled for centuries, evidently. But Santa, the older brother, we'll say, had told and reformed this Christ individual, the Krampus. The brother's name is Krampus, and this is a German origin, by the way. Ava probably well aware of it. And this, he's the brother who's actually kind of like the Satan or Lucifer, but he's like a horned, headed individual who likes to have fun playing, fighting, and kind of beating up on, making a contest or a competition of the physicalities for fun. And in any case, this funny movie that just came out, so it's completely in timing with the same context that I'm appropriated here to share with, and it's the Rock is the star of the movie, who's the guardian of Santa, and he's misplaced his focus. He's ready to retire, actually, and he had officially retired just on the same day or just before Santa was abducted. So that's, I haven't seen the whole movie, finished it, but the idea being that the guardian has lost his guardianship and his duties. So he is very much determined to find out where Santa is, and where the witch has abducted him to. And they're all using the software to individual who has discovered where the hidden place is that Santa was in the North Pole, and he gave it to the witch, this information, unknowingly. He didn't realize that it was Santa, et cetera, and in this situation. So it's like the AI, which will act as a indoctrination tool and a vehicle of misinformation, and the controlled conditioning is also a big partner in this particular, which is the same thing that's happened with Santa Claus and his position, that he was attributed to him as this beautiful, loving Christmas sharing idea, which is being used actually for the control and miscegenation. Is that the right word? Maybe some other word of the spirit, as it is being applied, or has been applied since at least the last 200 years. I actually knew a man in a senior when I grew up, and his name was Tom Nast, and he had written a very good and animated cartoon book, that is, about Santa. It's very well known, and so he was the writer of one of these creation stories, and it doesn't matter. But he also married the wife of my who was the mother of my best friend when I grew up in New York. So it's all kind of all this all integrated, the simulation vehicle and its associated karmas, which you will, because that's what that is, I think, a good way of saying it. Nobody has to carry out their karmas or follow any of these associated conditional ideas. But for the most part, most people do, or they go through their lifetime going through them, and then at some point they realize that recognize that they've gone through all of the repetitions. So it becomes often for many people at a certain age, some older, some younger, but when they recognize this, that now they're in a totally new opportunity, that they don't have to keep, just stay in the same old viewpoint condition, and then they die, get old and die, and they don't have any memory of, after, let it go, and so forth and so on, which has happened to all of us. And to recognize that is something I've been doing with the exercise, not to let go of all the past stuff. That's one way people can do stuff, is to do a kind of I met a woman recently, I mentioned, who was working at the golf course, young woman, and she also is practicing various, I'm not going to call them witchcrafts, but it's something like that, practices. And one of them is to release all of the things that aren't worthy for her anymore. Good one. But the second part is really to just go beyond them and any of those kind of viewpoints of consideration, to be recognized. Well, I'd say this way: the solar body is an exercise that I've been practicing, we'll say, which is to become aware of my solar body. And yesterday or the day before, I had a very vivid, much more vivid awareness of this. And it's something like the Da Vinci has an image in his artwork of I forgot the name of the man, let's call him the Freemason man or something like that, but it's something else, Italian. And with his arms outstretched, naked, and 5 points, arms, legs, and body. A very famous drawing. Many of you probably know it. And that's a representation of this solar body. And you see all these other representations of the light body and the whatever other names and such that different peoples and group metaphysicals and so forth have identified with. And I really want to thank Ava and Dwayne for just today. They shared in the writings the 5 intuitional, physical, intuitional, etc. I don't have the 5 exactly, but that's very good. And the 6th body being the awareness, or the wholeness of it, not the 6th body, but of the 5 bodies. So this is all representations that have been available. And like the movie, it was the silent movie of 1919 about the Something Youth is the title of it. And that we think often in the past that as let's say the movies, as an example, were primitive. Well, partially because they're black and white, but my observation of many of the older movies is they're very, very much advanced, and that they had just gotten the attributes of film in 1910, and this movie was made in 1919. So somewhere in that period, when the first flight by the Wright brothers, and they were although it appeared to be that they were very primitive, let's say, I think it's very much not true. And you can tell that by the large amount of building that was done, etc. So this idea that we're thinking that we're more advanced than the ones before is a real misnomer as well. That is part of that conditioning, trying to make it look like, okay, now we have AI tech and all of this, so we're more advanced and we're really progressing, and you know, all of this kind of association that makes it look like the social condition, cultural, tech, business, economic is, you know, our answer, and they will promote that, you know, extensively, of course, because whatever's to their tool, their best tools are going to be used. It's the nature of our entire history, of course, tools and language. And we are creating a new language, and I'm been writing with that context of late, very much so. And I've got this entire volume of, I don't know what, you know, I could give it all kinds of names like new tech, you know, or the new map of the real universes, or, you know, those are very small names and parts of chapter titles instead of, well, what is it? You know, well, I'm just trying to move it ahead in a way that will make sense and be really maybe useful, or maybe just, again, something that allows the recognition to happen. It's not necessarily a programmed indoctrination, and certainly not an indoctrinated conditioning program. So thank you, Ava and Val and Dwayne. And okay, I think that is that went pretty well again. So I got surprised again, and I appreciate it very much.